Hi all. This is hopefully looking a little different than my usual starting. I think the quarantine is getting to me, and for whatever reason, I have gone with yellow hair tonight because why not? Um, so tonight, I was planning on starting with the C#8 Nullable Reference Types pull request that we did last time out on the System Command Line library. But thank you, Jared. I'm glad you think this looks better. I green screen, which you can tell because it's not green. Um, but yeah, so was planning on starting with that pull request. I think I'm going to detour a little bit. I believe Jon Sequeira is going to join me in a little bit, and we're going to take a crack at the Roslyn analyzer issue. So let me pop over here real quick. So this guy here. So inside of um, System Command Line, the most common problem that we see people coming up with is they go through and create a command and have some options that get bound into the handler. Um, but unless you get these names exactly right, the binding just fails and you get no indication as to why. So as a experiment, one thought to combat this is to create a Roslyn analyzer that ships as part of the NuGet, and then hopefully that helps catch those problems ahead of time and warns people when there's an issue. So we're gonna see how well that works. It'll be a little interesting because I can see a lot of cases where it may not be straightforward for the analyzer to catch it. But at the same time, if we can save at least a few people some headaches and head scratching confusion, that would probably be a good way to start. So I am going to stall for just a minute and see what the heck is going on. I know Jon and I both realized when we were doing this a few minutes ago, we're like, oh shoot, we don't have everything installed that we need. So that was a mistake on our part. But I believe now if I fire this up, I should have um, the workload installed. So for anybody who hasn't done an analyzer before, the docs page, which I'll drop into the chat, for the analyzers is very good. They have written extensive docs. I'll just drop this in. Extensive docs on what you need, and the key thing is from your Visual Studio installer, make sure you have the Visual Studio extension development workload pulled in. I mean, it's like building anything else. You got to make sure you have the right SDKs installed before you can start, and that's basically the kicker here. So I think that should be all we need to actually get off to the races, and then yeah, because then you've got a new extensibility project template. Target net standard, and if I recall correctly, it'll even generate the whole unit test um, boilerplate and everything to go along with it. So hopefully that goes smoothly. Sorry, I gotta adjust my OBS here real quick because this is not where I was planning on going. And I think looks like it's there. So I may end up just pausing this real quick and switching back as soon as I can get Jon to get his stuff going. So, but while we're waiting on him, we're going to go through and try this. So, let's just go ahead and start. And for reference, I did go back. I resynced my master branch up with latest master. The nullability branch is back a little bit. We may end up having to rebase. We'll see. But I did create a new analyzer branch right off of master. So that is where I am starting from. Okay, so project template, something, something, something. Something about an analyzer. Come on. I know it's hard, Visual Studio. You can do it. Come on. Analyze. Come on, I'm already lost. Under Visual C# extensibility, choose Analyzer with code fix. Okay. Extensions. is it? PhysX, project template, new. Add in. Empty PhysX, console extensions, VSSDK. Oh, come on. We just went through and installed it. Let's see here. Apparently Jon has to get his beverage of choice. Let's see. Project template, C# item template. Where the heck is this thing? It's normally not this hard. But it's been a while since I've done file new project on an analyzer. Normally I'm editing an existing one. Optional code, iOS, bindings library, lots of iOS and Xamarin. Yep. Okay. Just to make sure I'm not crazy, I'm just going to double check and make sure that we did in fact install the workload. So let's just validate that real quick. So modify, drink Mountain Dew. Visual Studio Extension Development. That's what I want. Right? Oh. Did you not include that by default? Oh, that might be a problem. The compiler platform, I'm pretty sure I need that. Okay, we're gonna shut this guy down here real quick. Apparently, checking the box on the workflow may not have given me everything. I just kind of blindly clicked the button really quick. Thankfully, this guy is a smaller one. We will see. Hopefully, this is all we need. Come on. Go. That's fun. Where did that white line come from? Which one of you guys left something sitting around there? Okay. Come on. Finishing up. I know. Might take a while, but I believe in you, Visual Studio. You can do it. Okay. So, back to System Command Line. We'll try this one more time. This time with feeling, and we will hopefully create ourselves a new analyzer project. That is the goal. Okay, add new project. Why are you dragging Visual Studio? Analyzer with code fix. There we go. .NET Standard. So, when in doubt, don't just check the box for the workload. Make sure you actually get the Roslyn bit too. Let's see. Standalone code analysis tool. No. We want an analyzer that goes here. Great. Let's see here. That is assuredly not where we want it. We want it to go underneath source. Not too deep. Sharper, you are very close to being uninstalled. Okay, so I think System, Command Line, and the question is now, what does this guy end up getting called? Really, Visual Studio? What are you doing? Come on. You are making me question what you are doing. Wow. Well, Visual Studio is clearly doing something very intensive. Why it's not typing what I told it, who knows. Maybe that. I'm pretty sure this is not going to get used. I think this is an artifact of this. I'm pretty sure it's going to. Thank you. I do appreciate it. My being quarantined at home has left me, I will say, more snarky on calls. So I have started going around and adding to the fun. Most people have just been doing the fun backgrounds. I decided add to the foreground as well. My team actually was giving me crap one morning for not combing my hair. I had rolled out of bed and had an idea of how to solve my bug from the day before, so I ran out and started working and completely spaced it, and next thing I know, it's time for our call, and away we go. So that was fun. So then naturally I went and put the hair on. I've got the beard and the hat to go with it later, so I can keep escalating. And I've actually got a large box of hats that my wife has conveniently given me for just such an occasion, just so that we can have some fun. Okay, so let's see. I think we're going to lead with this because John's not around to tell me otherwise, and we can rename it later. Because this is a bit of an experiment to see how good of an analyzer we can actually build, right? Like, I want it to be good, but I don't think it'll be. I don't think it's going to be able to catch everything. Okay, so key things to note right away. So the project template, and I just want to check the CS proj real quick because so even though the new project dialog showed .NET Framework, ignore that. The bootstrapping thing fixes that up for us. So this assuredly all needs to get fixed at some point because we probably don't want my name in here. This should be the actual package URL stuff and all that jazz. Hold that thought. John's calling me. I'll be right back. Try this. So, that would be ideal. So, sorry everyone, this will take just a moment. I think, hopefully, this is as simple as click and drop. Otherwise, I just drag my screen over. Bandwidth, highest. Wow. I must be missing part of this. So we're going to bring you over here. and I'm going to do this. You want to go ahead and talk real quick, Jon?
Sure.
And can someone on the stream confirm that they actually hear Jon?
Hello, people on the stream.
He's hopefully there. I know we've got a couple people that hopefully will hear and chime in. Yes, you are hearable. Okay. We're good. Now we go. Okay, so we are at basic file new project. Obviously, a bunch of this stuff is going to need to get changed for the NuGet packagey stuff that it generated. So I'm ignoring that for the moment. Named it System.CommandLine Analyzer due to not knowing what to call it. So went with that.
You misspelled analyzer.
What? Dang nabbit. Okay, so I've got my first bug and I haven't even gotten anywhere yet. Okay, I will add that as a rename thing. So I'm going to start with does it build and go from there. Because it looks like it's wanting to pull in dependencies and all that jazz. So I briefly looked at the bug write-up that we had, right? With the idea being that we're, I think, just looking to detect this simple case, right? Because obviously there's so many ways people can compose these objects. I don't know if it's, I don't think an analyzer can reasonably detect all of them. But it should be able to at least pick up this simple case, right?
Yeah.
So
that's as good a place to start, I think.
Yeah, so this is where I was going to start heading next. So good news is it compiles, and conveniently the ReSharper spell checker informs me thusly that you are correct and I can't spell the word analyzer. So, okay, so you had mentioned that there was potentially one more extension that I should be considering grabbing for this.
Yeah, I don't remember what it's called though.
And that's fine. I mean, I can kind of muddle my way through this a little bit too, right? Like, so some of this stuff isn't terrible as far as going through and detecting this, because for the most part, if I recall correctly, because we've got a couple IntelliTech analyzers that we've built up and run, but the basic pattern. So, and I'm trying to decide what we actually want to pick up, right? Because when going through and looking at this, I think we want to analyze the entire tree. And this is where it starts to get weird, right? Because a lot of times you're looking at one thing in isolation, and in this case, we're not looking at one thing in isolation. We're looking to look at more than that, right? So, for example, I do know that the method one, syntax node action, I believe, is the one to do this. So, empty delegate at the moment, and then I believe you just do the what is it? Symbol kind, and then register up what you want to grab. So event field, method, etc. Right. So
yeah, I think we'll potentially want to look at both
right.
methods and maybe delegates as well. Is there an option for delegates?
Let's see. Well, property I think is where we want to start for the assignment, right? And then.
Well, it's going to be parameters to the method, ultimately.
Parameters to the method, ultimately.
I mean, I guess we're comparing.
Oh, yeah. So, okay. I guess I was going to start by targeting handler, but I suppose we could target this method here, is what you're saying, right? Is hunt down invocations of command handler create. Is that the thinking?
I think that's reasonable, yeah.
Okay. So that's method, right? And so analyze.
Do you want to start with some tests?
Yes. And conveniently, rather than thinking too hard, they bootstrap everything in for you, which is wonderful. So the fun part is this guy here, right? Is for theirs. I think I'm going to leave their test in place for the moment.
Yep.
Because they basically, you've got your analyzer provider, and then underneath the hood, they deal with all of this stuff and give you these key bits of verify diagnostics, where you can actually pass it nothing to say, I don't expect you to detect anything in this case, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're just going to collapse this guy up. Oh, yeah, test method 1. Okay, so test method. Let's see. Public void. Detect command handler with single parameter. Give or take a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. I'm just going to steal some stuff here real quick. Because the fun part about this is the code doesn't even have to compile. Right? Because obviously our type isn't going to necessarily be there. We probably should make it. Actually, is there a... I was just thinking, there's a command handler test, right? Where I can go and steal some code from.
Oh, totally. I mean, I can tell you what to type, too. I've got enough time at this point.
All right, I was just thinking that just coming in here and stealing one of these might be an easy place to start, right? Is I want, I don't know, pretty much to start with something like this.
Mm-hmm.
So class, type name, we're going to make this look a little more real. Program. Boom. And of course, yay, quotation marks.
That thing is offering to escape it for you, isn't it? Like when you first paste, ReSharper says, hey, do you want me to escape this?
Oh, I think you're right. I think I botched that, didn't I?
Too late now.
I know. Almost makes me want to go back and repaste. Oh, and I'm using the wrong escape character.
Yeah, and then it helpfully inserts a second quote for you when you already have one.
Yeah, it's like, dang nabbit, stop helping me. Just type literal. Okay, so that gets me there, and in the interest of my own sanity, tab, tab, tab. So something akin to this, right? And we expect it to, and I think we're just going to pull this guy back here. I think I'm going to do...
So there's a couple different cases here. One of them is you declare...
Oh, just a straight-up lambda.
Right? Because if you don't define an execute method, then you don't know what the parameter names are. So those are two different cases. That's why I was asking about whether lambda is a separate case than method.
I almost feel like the first one I want to do is the simple success case.
Sure.
By success, I mean it flagging it just so that I can get that far, and I think the handle the missing case gets to be a little easier at that point. So, I mean, that's basically what we're looking for, right? That is about as simple as we can make it.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm just blatantly steal some stuff. We expect this.
Copy pasting is theft.
Say again?
Copy pasting is theft.
Well, I would go steal it from a different project because it's only theft if it's not from yourself.
Ah. I think the MIT license allows you to copy paste from other things as well.
Okay, so there's that, and sure, I'm going to leave this diagnostics here for the moment. It's not right, but we haven't actually, like, I don't know what our ID is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
I can guess we might spell it correctly, though.
Yeah.
Give or take a little bit, and
consistency is important, though.
Yeah, and message. Well, I guess we can kind of guess this out a little bit. What, maybe something like name to does not match
parameter
name.
parameter name, name2 does not match option name, option name.
I like it.
Dash dash name.
Yeah. I don't know how we would do that message in the case where there was a bunch of options. We'd have to kind of guess which one they meant. Or we take maybe our suggestion source thing and re-abuse that.
Or maybe you say all of the options, right?
That's true.
Options dash dash name does not have a matching parameter among.
Let's see. Severity, probably warning. That's probably fine. I don't know if I would say it's worse than that. And then we could count or we could cheat. Because we expect this, the squiggly line to end up here, right? I would imagine.
There's a good trick for this.
Oh, excellent. I like tricks. Because my trick is run it and see what the line number is. Because I'm always off by 1. Very consistently.
So here, let me find you a link.
Ooh, I like links.
Speaking of copy pasting MIT license code, this code was copy pasted originally from Roslyn, and then it found its way to Try.net and .NET Interactive, and I don't know, it's probably in a lot of places by now. Let's see.
Oh, you're probably, oh, that's fun. I forgot it. It hides your window when I maximize our chat.
Mm.
Well, it makes for a nice way for me to visually mute you if necessary.
Okay. I'll paste this into the chat somehow. Maybe. I can't.
Should I make it pop for you?
Aha. Thank you.
Poof. So that link, so for those interested parties. Let's see. So .NET Interactive, markup test file. Ooh, so what is this thing doing?
So it gives you a way to, here, let me find a test that uses it, and that will make it a little even clearer.
I think I'm starting to grok this, and this is awesome.
This is what you need. This is what the Roslyn team uses.
This is how to do it without it feeling like string munging the whole time.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to look for usages of this.
So I think the appropriate thing here is raw mode, Control S, and say, come here. Because I'm pretty sure I want this. Let's see, and I need to find the repo, find the unit test.
I'll do another example. This is in mission parser test.
Oh, we're going to have to fix this.
Uh-oh.
Well, it's not a big deal. I just noticed the way the template generated the projects doesn't match the rest of ours. It nests all of them underneath an analyzers folder. So I will have to address that. So even though here they show up nicely under an SRC, that's not where they are. Okay, so now I should have a new fancy file. So I think what we're going to do, we should probably just disable that. We'll leave it as is for now.
Okay, so here you can see this in use.
Excellent. So pop that, grab link, and drop it in. Okay, so code C# creates a mission parser parse. Okay, so get position, markup code, out position. So
There's different overloads. You can get spans if you want.
nice.
So you'll see a few different examples of it in this file.
Okay.
That one there is a named span. Or no, that one's not a named span. The one below is a named span.
Got it. Okay. Interesting, 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 interesting. So markup code and
So the code where you see outbar code, that's the code with all of the, the markup removed effectively. That's the real code that will actually compile when you run it through C# compiler.
got it. So what I then need to do, we're just gonna, while we're borrowing code, let's just continue on the borrowing path, right? So down here, ultimately I want something kind of like this, right? So come here.
Yep.
And I want this to be test, and then this is ultimately going to be code, right?
Yep.
And then I need to mark this guy up with what I expect.
Yeah.
So I think this does come back to the question then, where do we expect these squigglies to go? I think right underneath this delegate, right?
Maybe just around the parameter name, right?
So right here, just around
you
name.
want to flag that parameter name and say this parameter name doesn't have a matching option.
Okay, so this is where we want the squiggly. Okay, so, and this is where it gets interesting then, right? Because this is, I need to understand this magical syntax that they clearly have documented. The position in the file, there can be at most one of these. Yeah, so Jared agrees, around the parameter. Let's see, a span of text in the file. There are many of these that can be nested. So how, I think this is what I want, right? A span of text in the file annotated with an identifier.
If there's only going to be one of them in the code sample, then the previous one is fine, because you don't need to differentiate them by name.
Got it. Okay.
That one is just going to find the one span. There can be many of them. But yeah, if you don't need to, if there's only going to be one span that you care about, that one's fine.
Okay. And so ultimately, though, I want to get this in there too, right? Because this is going to indicate the position that I'm after.
The span that comes out will have a start position and an end position.
Span that comes out will have a start position and end position. Okay, so
that text span should match the text span for the diagnostic that is produced.
Okay, so I think what I'm understanding is I want to do something like.
And I don't think you need the $$ at all.
Oh, really?
Yep.
So I basically just want to do this.
Yep.
Right.
And you want to find, yep. And then you don't want get name spans. You just want like get span.
Let's see, get span.
Yep.
And then this ultimately actually needs to go up here, right? Because I want, this is going to be var span now.
Yep. And then the diagnostic result location should match the span.
So this guy here should end up being something like span. Let's see, I think start.
Yep.
Right? Because I guess I'm trying to figure out, is start the line number? Because ultimately this resolution location is looking for line and column.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, which is why I'm wondering if I actually do care about this, right?
No, I don't think so. I think so you can get a line span from the span. Do span dot.
Let's see.
There's a way to do this. I think the span gives you the character position in the whole string.
Right.
But
I need effectively line and column for this guy. Which is why I usually just count and then verify that the answer I get is close to my count, because very consistently I can't count.
I'm pretty sure there's a way to do this, though.
So I'm wondering if maybe I'm just get spans, get position and span, perhaps. Maybe I just need to call a different overload.
Yeah. Yep.
Because this gives me cursor position. That's only one.
Oh, interesting. Cursor position. What else is in here? Is there something that gives you a line position?
That's what I was kind of looking for, to see if there was just a different overload that I needed to call.
Yeah.
Oh, out line, out column. What overload are you? Get line and column. That sounds remarkably like exactly what I want.
It does. Actually, Brett on my team just added that like yesterday.
Well, thank you, Brett. That could not have been better timing. So let's just flip this guy here. Get line and column. So now I have different out parameters. That's okay. So I assume code is still there. Sure.
Oh,
Out int line, out int column. Great. Now that makes this really easy.
yep.
Column, line.
Neat.
Okay. So that gets us there. And normally I would turn on live unit testing, but I learned the other day that while streaming and screen sharing and ReSharper, adding live unit testing to the mix kind of I've got a nicer machine now, but it's still
Yeah.
that pushes the limits of what it's okay with. So actually, I think I'm just gonna cheat. ReSharper's runner will be just fine for me, and we'll just go there. All right. So this should run. This should fail. There is no code. Create reference from file. Huh? This isn't generated code. What the heck? Let's see here. Diagnostic verifier. Create reference from file. Let me just see. Is there a create? Did you have partial code in the first file? That is a good question, Jared, but this is not from the file I brought in. This is the diagnostic verifier, which that is in here. It's part of the generated boilerplate that they give you.
Is it a partial class? That's a partial class. So where's the other part?
Oh, that's a good point. Diagnostic verifier. Is this thing supposed to be... This is a code fix verifier.
Also a partial class.
Derives from diagnostic verifier. And this guy, tubally implemented by test class. Well, that's fine. Hold on. So it's my helper then. This guy is the problem child. Diagnostic verifier. Clearly using you. Don't like your namespace. We'll fix that in a minute. Oh, I wonder if that's what I did wrong. I probably changed some namespaces and didn't change everything. Let me just fix those real quick. Hey, Sharper. Fix everything in the project for me real fast. I'll probably clean this up. I don't know if we care about that markup test file bit, what namespace that's in, but this is about to blow that away. Okay, save all. Let's try this one more time. And compile. I will say, these analyzers actually, we figured out running them outside of Visual Studio is actually quite powerful. We use them when we're teaching our class. We've got a bunch of analyzers that we just manually kick off and run. I do love how my error count is going down.
That's the right direction.
Up, down, up. Nope, nope. Okay, you are clearly still building, I think. Or my error list has just lost its mind. I think my error list has just lost its mind. Okay, so that is missing there. Why? Why is the generated stuff having... is inaccessible due to its protection level. Okay. I am very confused and don't understand. It's like there's an issue with the generated project template.
Interesting.
Don't really want to spend time debugging it at the moment. but I will probably go through and do this later and potentially file bugs whenever I figure out where that should be.
Yeah. So it was a partial class?
So that was the first set of errors, is a partial class where the method it's trying to call is just flat out not there. And
Right.
I was gonna check its usage here in a minute and see.
I was noticing a couple things if you go back.
Sorry, say that one more time. Go here.
Go back to the previous file for a second.
Let's see. This one?
The partial is grayed out, so the access, I guess that means that the partial class, the other part of the partial class is missing?
Possibly.
Them up, right? So,
yeah, there's...
So that would explain the access problem. Private would be callable if the two parts of the partial class were both present.
Well, but the part that interests me on that, though, is these ones here are coming from a different class.
Oh.
Right? So this is coming from CodeFix Verifier, is trying to call into this and can't. It feels like somebody did a refactor, and like only half of the things got modified. Maybe. I mean, I'm just gonna turn all these helper things public because I'm a little less concerned about it at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And then come back. Let's see here. Don't care about that. There is some interesting dragon fruity stuff that apparently we have framework version issues, command line benchmarks. I know how I fix those problems, though.
Oh.
Let's see. It's a very simple fix. Unload project. Look, the errors go away.
Why are you getting that?
That's a good question. The benchmarks were squawking about target framework on dragon fruit. So again, check it when I... Okay, so that fixes those errors. So glad that the first one compiled. Okay, why does that other one keep flashing at me? It's like there's one more. It's the design time build that's doing it. Yeah, command line, there. Okay, I think it's getting confused. There's your startup project. Stop trying to do design time builds. Okay, so these are the ones that are still broken. Let's see here. So the question is, where are these guys actually getting used? So core lib reference. Create project. So this is actually just generating out metadata references. Is that create reference from file? Create reference from file. I mean, okay, I have private static. Actually, you know what I should do real quick? Let me pull up the IntelliTech analyzers because we have ones that are working, and I'm wondering if I can just steal those.
Sure.
Because that seems like the easiest way to do it. The one thing that we did on our analyzers that I thought was rather fun is we run integration tests where we run our analyzers against our analyzers repo.
Nice.
Because nothing will go wrong with that plan. So I'm in diagnostic verifier helper.
No, I mean, you have to compile your compiler with itself, and you have to analyze your analyzers with themselves.
Oh, so, okay, so it's metadata reference create from file. Oh, that's a whole lot easier than what I was going to do. So, actually, some brilliant person showed me at one point an inlining trick that I vaguely recall being totally awesome. Metadata.
Metadata reference. That's a hard word to spell.
Alright, so right, and then something about click the button and magical refactor, inline. Make it be so.
Beautiful.
Wonderful. Please compile. You haven't even gotten to the fun part yet. Note to self, next time, do the boilerplate first.
But this is highly instructional boilerplate.
Yeah, and I will say, the documentation for doing analyzers is quite good. It is probably some of the most detailed documentation I have looked at. System command line. Yeah, Jared is enjoying it. Ensure that restore has included net standard in the target. What the heck?
Interesting.
I promise. I was working in this solution last week.
Have you done a command line restore? And did you do the disable arcade thing? Or are you
Disable
in
arcade. That's a good question.
or if you have a build where you did it one way and then you try to build it the other way, sometimes it gets confused.
Well, I did just bounce from my nullability branch onto the master.
Okay.
So potentially problems there.
If you see that it's looking for things under the artifacts folder, then that means that the arcade build is enabled, which is usually perfectly fine.
Yeah, and it's the fact that it's the main, that it's package dependency resolution leads me to believe that you are onto something. I should probably not put you directly underneath me.
You can just do a command. If you do a command line restore, if you run restore.cmd, I believe, then that should grab things that I don't know if the Visual Studio build will grab. This is a strange ritual that we have.
Well, let's see. So,
Necessarily makes life easier.
Okay, so what you said? There's a restore here, or just a .NET restore?
No, it's a restore. There's a command.
When you say a command on what?
I see build.cmd. Just try running that.
I'm in PowerShell.
Usually don't do this. So.
Yeah, well, that shouldn't be a problem, right? So I technically have 31201. I don't mind having 101 on there, but...
So the goal of the arcade build system is to make these things reproducible, so it's going to download the SDK into the artifacts folder or within the repo and to make sure that you have the version that you know that works against.
Which I can understand that. That makes it simple-ish.
It's sort of simple-ish, and it's also sort of...
It's great when it works, and it's horrible when it doesn't.
Yeah. Well, and it's not the normal way of doing things, and so it can violate the principle of least surprise.
Ambiguous project name.
That's curious, isn't it?
Yeah, so this is interesting. It does lead to the idea that perhaps I am in a weird state.
Yeah.
I'm going to try the obvious fix and just restart Visual Studio.
You might even want to do a git add of any files that you don't want to lose. Fix that rename now, and then do a git clean with extreme prejudice.
I like the idea. Okay, so 1.1, we're just going to bring these two guys up, paste, and then inside the analyzer folder, we're going to whack that. Let's see. We definitely don't want the tools directory because that doesn't work anymore. Resources, I suppose, are fine. Yeah, we can leave those at the moment. That doesn't bother me. Test is up here. And then I think, don't hate me for this, my way of rename involves VS Code.
Oh, I love that.
And so what is it? I did YLSER.
Yep.
Is that the magical? Now I have to misspell the same way I did before, which is always the hard part. Let's see, LYZER, and then
Yeah.
yeah, sure, do it. Do all the things, please. Okay, so and that'll get most of them. The one thing it will not do is the folder paths. But theoretically, there's only 2 left.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there's all of that. So let's check.
This is the really glamorous part of the software development lifecycle right here.
Yeah. Yes, everyone who thinks software developers are great, they don't. This is the normal. Oh man, I've messed it up so much. I just got to torch the repo.
Mm-hmm.
Initial commit of. I'm gonna try to spell analyzer. The nice part about Git though is when I typo in my commit messages, you just force push. Because nothing will go wrong with that.
Yeah, that definitely never goes wrong.
My philosophy is if I wasn't supposed to be able to force push to that branch, I shouldn't have had permission in the first place. If I have permission, I probably was supposed to do it. Okay, so now let's see what happens when we launch System.CommandLine. That's disconcerting. My Visual Studio shortcut showed a second one at a very unusual path, which does not instill confidence in me. Oh look, one or more projects failed to load. I'm going to go with it might have the word analyzer in the name. Oh!
Your solution file has got one extra level of folders in it now, right?
Say that one more time?
CS Proj probably has a...
Yeah, well, I was going to say that, so it didn't get the folder names, but it's not going to get the file names of the CS projects either. The VS Code rename should have picked up the reference inside of the solution.
But not the change in folder name.
Why would it not pick that up?
Didn't you hoist these folders up one level?
Oh, yes, you're right. So it would not have gotten that. Yep. Okay. And you are absolutely correct that I'm going to have to go and change that one. Note to self. When doing file new project, type twice, spell check once.
I don't do file new project anymore. I always use the CLI.
Ah. There is wisdom in that. Let's see here. And this guy here should have. So 1, we're just going to get rid of that because that guy's gone. And then we're going to get rid of this because that's gone. I'm going to get rid of this because that's gone. Okay. Rinse, repeat, have some do. I'm going to actually move. Restoring. Come on. All we want to see is a compile. It's not supposed to be this hard, right?
I don't know. I guess it's not.
Okay. We happy again? Well, the project's all loaded.
That's good.
Well, no. We're gonna build the test project. If the test project compiles, that will be significantly further than we. Goal!
Woo!
I can run a compile. My world is mostly complete.
Yeah, it
Now,
should.
this should be the easy part. Unit test, please fail. If you pass, I'm going to be really disappointed. Okay, success. We can fail. Okay, expected diagnostic to be on line 0 was actually on line 11. That does not instill confidence in this get line and column thing.
I don't know if we unit tested our unit tests when we added this method. I assume it works.
Well, in theory, if you're using it inside of your unit test, it's tested implicitly, right?
If the test, if you're confident in the test results,
That's true. I'm just picturing if you actually plug it in. So, line number, something not 0. Uh-oh. Column number. I am not confident in either of those outputs.
oh, but it's probably looking for the dollar thing or something. It's probably not looking for a span, right?
Oh, that is probably very true. What is it hunting for?
I think we're holding it wrong.
Get position and span cursors.
Yeah, so get position is looking for the dollar sign. So this doesn't really help us with a span because
So I think it. So I agree it doesn't help us with the span, but I'm not sure we need it yet, right? Because right now all I'm looking to grab is where this thing is.
well, you want to get the start and end position, so the squiggly is in the right place.
Not to make this pass. I only need line and column where it starts.
Interesting. That seems like maybe
Now, I
not.
believe this guy has an overload or something that would let it know about the end, right? I think. Something?
It would have, maybe. Does the diagnostic result location have a...
Nope. It literally has path, line, and column.
Interesting.
So this makes some sense to me because the error list here
Yep.
only ever knows file path, line, and column.
Hmm.
So this isn't necessarily unit testing the squiggly. It's unit testing the position of the error in your error list.
Yeah, got it.
So let's give this a try. Because that might end up being a little... At least for initial test.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so give me a line. 21, that's a believable number. 64, that's another believable number. Okay. So now I got something that at least looks believable. And yeah, you should definitely throw in a cert fail because I don't expect you to be there. Okay, so expected diagnostic failure to be on line 21 was actually on line 11. That's exciting. Yeah, so it's hunting thing to contain lowercase letters because that's the built-in scaffolding stuff, and ours doesn't do that. So
Yeah.
kind of makes sense. Okay, so we've got a failing test. Let's go see here. So for now, we're going to ignore the code fix because I don't know if we're ever going to actually have a code fix for this, right? Like, I mean, the only thing is potentially a rename, but I mean,
a rename would be pretty cool, but
I'll settle for a simple targeting thing for the moment.
yep.
Okay, so we need to do something about these guys here, right? And this clearly is the wrong overload to call because one, my exception didn't get thrown, so that's probably a indication that I did it wrong. So I don't know what the standard way of doing this is. Wow, I am bad at this.
But consistent.
Yes, I am consistently wrong. Apparently Analyze is not my friend. When we did our analyzers, we actually went through and, apparently live unit testing is on. That would also probably explain my flashy error list. We separated each of the symbols into their own methods just for simplicity. I don't know if that adds overhead or whatnot, but that's what we did. I think what we can do, though, is we can probably get rid of this. Unless there's something we want to save for reference to look at. But I think for the most part we can probably ignore it. Right? And so ultimately down here we're looking for context symbol, right? And I believe what I learned before is this here can be sometimes misleading. So is, what is it? Method. Alright, so something like that. And then the first question is the easiest thing to check, and I believe name is probably the easiest check first, right? Because in general, you want all of these checks in the cheapest to the most expensive.
Yep.
And so I think starting with that.
Or do you want to do name of?
So we could do name of, but that now means that our analyzer has to reference our other assembly.
I see. Okay.
And this is one of those weird cases where I think the answer is no. In general, what I would probably do is move this into a constants thing so I don't have to replicate signatures in multiple places. But
Sure.
So if we go back here, so we're hunting for create, and I assume we check the parent type, right?
Yep.
Because now we're going up the food chain. Let's see here. What has parent type on it? Is defined, virtual, parity, associated symbol, constructed from. Reduced from. Oh boy. See, this is where I now have to stop and think, because this is now Rosalind's view of it, not my C# developer view of it.
Yeah, and very much not the reflection view of it.
Yeah. Containing symbol would get me. Oh, containing type.
Yeah.
So I think I do containing type dot name, right?
Yep.
And ultimately, we probably need more, but I think to get the test to pass, that's probably sufficient.
The live unit testing, when it reruns, will tell you whether you're getting inside that code block or not.
Thinking. Running. I'm glad it's being intelligent for me. I guess I can. It's interesting to me that it's... So at one point in time, it hit my if statement.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently it's unsure now. And I'm wondering if it's... I wonder if because things are... I wonder if it's just unsure of how to run this, right? Because it doesn't have a strong link between this code and the... well, no, it does. Because the base class for the unit test thing news one of these guys up.
Mm-hmm.
So it should know. Though it's taking longer than my happy place. So
Can you, there's a way to tell it to only run the tests that you care about at a given moment.
let's see.
In the other test runner. It looks like, but it's running the whole test suite right now, right?
Yeah, it looks like it's running everything. I think just new playlist would get me there. And I think actually the... Where'd you go? I think if you just kick it in the Test Explorer, that'll actually kick it in gear, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. Analyzer test. Those. Go. Little surprised this guy is. You pause for a second. We'll come back to you in a moment. Suppose I probably should have gone through and actually debugged it. I'm wondering, do I have a compile error? Is that... Is that what's causing it to hang? Nope. Nope, that guy was able to run. Okay, so diagnostics none. Okay, so the question really is when we get into here, are we getting what we want?
Yeah.
So let's just do that for the moment. Show it to me, and let's take a look. So the answer is yes, and I suppose symbol analysis content, program main. That's not the one I want. Try again. So
Yeah, I find myself in cases like this breaking it into multiple nested if statements just so it's easier to set a debugger on the part that I care about.
that is true.
Or see the live unit testing.
Yeah, well, in this case, though, the fact that we only came in here on the one call,
Yeah.
I think is an indication that I am not where I want to be. So it's not. I don't want to analyze a symbol type of method because this is the only method declaration. What I'm more interested in is an invocation.
Yes.
Which apparently is not what I have here. So let's try this again. Event field, label local, pointer, property. So these are all declarations for the symbols. And I don't think that's what we want. We don't want a declaration of any of these. We really want not the symbol kind. Right? So it's not really a symbol that we're after. Leave you sitting there for a minute. I need a different register.
Yeah.
Code block action. After of a method or body of an expression appearing outside a method body. No. Inside a method body. How do you get to those? Register operation. Sorry, you are sitting on top of my IntelliSense. Let's see. An action to be executed with completion of semantic analysis of an I operation with the appropriate kind.
Could be.
Sure. So that guy, which is guaranteed to have the wrong parameters, but who cares for the minute? Operation kind. Ah, this looks better. Array creation. I'm looking for maybe invoke or method invoke or similar. Yeah. This looks better because this tracks more with like all of the IL instructions. Method reference maybe, but I don't think that'll get us inside, right? That'd probably get us to the command handler create.
But that's what
I kind of want to be in.
We want to look up.
Yeah, I want to look up to it, right?
Although command handler create calls will be much less frequent, presumably, than lambda expressions, right?
That is true. So maybe we start there, right? Operation analysis context. So rather than symbol, I want you to be operation. Okay. Which I assume, rather than a symbol on here, you probably have something more akin to, oh, look, an operation. What a shock.
Yeah.
Okay, so operation is something about method operation. Method.
So one of the things another nice trick here, this is again the usefulness of instant code coverage from something like live unit testing. Just make a switch expression, throw all the different things in there you think it might be, and see which branch lights up.
Well, so the other way I've done it is I've just debugged and looked at the actual derived type.
Yeah, I think I've gotten very used to the sort of ncrunch live unit testing kind of workflow.
Yes.
So I just the code and just look where the code coverage shows me things are happening, and then I don't bother attaching a debugger, which tends to be slower.
Got it. So no, that makes perfect sense. So you would propose magical. So how did you live before C#8 then? Poorly or?
Ncrunch has been around a long time.
Well, right, but you couldn't have done a switch expression.
Yeah, that's true. If blocks.
A bunch of if blocks all the way through. Okay, so this is going to be then. So I think I'm method reference, right?
You know,
M1.
then I think ReSharper actually has, there's a ReSharper trick here. If you click on switch and invoke the ReSharper quick fix thing, generate type patterns.
ReSharper.
It was there. It showed up.
Oh,
There,
generate type patterns. Oh. John, you are opening my eyes to new and exciting options. Okay, I think select none is definitely where we start.
I am extremely lazy, so yeah, you could just like splat them all in there, let live unit testing run, and it's going to show you exactly what's happening.
Well, yes, except for depending on the order that these get slapped in, right? Because I've got inheritance problems. Because I know some of these, well,
Oh, I see.
the
Yeah.
symbol ones, there's an object hierarchy. So I don't know if I necessarily want all of them, but definitely all the ones with reference in them. And maybe things with parameterized stuffies in them.
I didn't realize there would be this many possibilities, so maybe at this point it is easier just to debug it. But
oh no, we started down this path. Okay, so let's make sure. So in theory, that now lights up. Now that it should go. I'm gonna leave it there to see what it's actually doing, but okay, so it ran and didn't get into here. It broke way early. So this did not get me what I want, which means this is probably my failure point, right? So we were on method reference, right? So
yeah. Some kind of invokey thing?
yeah, invocation. That sounds like something that's likely to get me somewhere.
Very reasonable.
Thinking. So say the next one I was going to start looking for would be call, just to see if it lines up with the IL stuff. Thinking. Stream's a bit laggy. Sorry about that, Metal Slug. I think it's because I have Skype, Visual Studio, ReSharper, and live unit testing all going at once. Should see real quick where who is chugging the most. Well, the offender is Visual Studio by a, well, let's just say like an 80% margin. 16 cores and 80% of my CPU juice is going into Visual Studio. Okay, so you are expensive. Okay, so this is not getting me where I want. I think I'm gonna just kill that guy for the moment, and I think I kind of just want to. I'm not sure how to get this all the way in. So let's see. Call. There's nothing there. How does one get this? Conversion, declaration. I'm realizing another option that we have is we could always hunt somebody else's analyzer that does something similar and just look at how.
Yeah, I'm looking at one right now that looks like it, but I don't think it's quite what we want either.
I was gonna say the ones inside of XUnit, they like specifically theirs that analyzes the equals.
Yep.
I think is similar to what we would want. Invalid is null is type label literal local function local reference. Member initializer member body. Parenthesized property. Return simple assignment. I mean that would certainly get us into where the equal sign is, but that's not quite what I want to look at. Hang on. I'm remembering something. There is a tool that will show you the syntax tree for a given.
Yeah, this is the one that I was trying to tell you about.
Yes, but I now just remember the word syntax tree.
Got it.
And I think, yeah, this one's MADS. And I believe this is the one I've used before. Because I'm pretty sure what I can do is point this at our unit test and just look at the syntax tree there.
Yep.
And then know what the heck it is
Yeah.
on the thing that I want to get. Because I think that's always the hardest part, is figuring out what is the thing in the compiler that I want to modify. Uh-oh, John. Mountain Dew is empty.
No.
It's okay. I've got backup. Okay, come on.
Here's the thing I was thinking of, I think.
Let's see.
You can also have a look at this. You could try them both out.
Okay, so there, and now let's go back in. And new fun things from John. Syntax visualizer instead of Visual Studio. So there's link 1. And .NET Interactive.
No? Syntax visualizer thing.
Sorry, I for some reason, yeah, it showed your old link as a new link to me, and I don't know why. Cool. Okay, so
And that old link never gets old. So.
Okay, so where is my new toy? We just got a syntaxy thingy. Okay, go ahead, ReSharper. Go ahead and analyze the whole solution. I know you want to. It's nice once you do it, but dear heavens, while you're doing it, you lag everything. Okay, so something about syntax. Come on. Come on. Syntax visualizer. Gimme. Okay. Now I think, yeah, see, this is the beautiful part. You just go to the code that you want, and it shows it to you. So I want to go to the command handler test. Nope. Try that again. Command handler tests. Right? And I want to look at this guy. Ish. I actually want one with a delegate with a name on it. If I get my way. We gotta have one in here somewhere. Execute this guy.
Yep.
Okay, syntax analyzer. What is that thing? Don't think, just go. Go.
Is it thinking?
Before it jumped as soon as I clicked on the file.
It was just a tease. First time for free, second time for money.
I wonder if this is giving it. Yeah. So let's.
Do you actually have to make a change?
Oh, apparently you have to type to trigger it. Okay, it's triggered on changes. Okay, so identifier token. Parenthesized. Oh, interesting. Simple member access invocation expression. So this whole thing is an invocation expression. Is that what we want to grab?
Yeah, I think so. That's going to contain all the other bits that we need, right?
Yeah, because the simple
Including
member. Yeah.
The names are going to be in there, right? The argument list.
Yeah, so we want to get ourselves an invocation expression. Okay, that narrows down what I'm after. So an invocation expression syntax. So then, back here. So, context. Okay, you are just going to annoy me now. Go away. Register syntax node action, right? So, nope. I know the parameter's wrong. I get it. This is where it's going to get interesting because is it symbol kind? No, I need something with invocation. Invocation expression. So expression.
Syntax kind? I think you want syntax kind, right?
Say that one more time.
Syntax kind? If you're going to register syntax node action, I think you want a syntax kind.
Yes. Syntax node analysis context. So syntax node analysis context, and then we come down here and we do all of this. Okay, so that gets us closer, I think. Okay, I kind of want to just, before I get too carried away, I kind of just want to see it hit the test.
Yep.
I should really go delete those other two tests so I don't have to keep looking at them.
Yeah.
So, keep going, thinking. Okay, so, context, containing symbol. Wow, my extension that changes font sizes apparently doesn't do anything for the IntelliSense one. So, but we can come down here. Okay, so invocation syntax add option. That is not the right one. Next. Ah ha 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 ha. Got it.
Yep.
That is what we want. So my node is an invocation expression. And then the question being, what would we want to check on it? I think the parent? Trying to decide if that's where no, I want the expression because ultimately I want to look at for this command handler create is what I'm after. So let's start with the before I get too carried away. So if context dot node is invocation expression, right? So I know that it's that.
Expression syntax, yep.
Yep, invocation and invocation expression is a member access expression syntax. Boom. And then let's see here. So inside of that, let's see. I'm trying to decide where to look. So the name could be an easy one, right? Because we could hunt name for create. So that's probably a cheap one to check. Member access, name, and identifier, value, text. Okay, so that picks that up. And then I would like to check, I don't think parent is where I want to get command handler from. I think I want to go after the expression again, right? So, and again, this falls apart for using static, so I'm just kind of going to ignore that. Because that's one of the, like, we got bit on our analyzers with multiple things with using static, where you expect to be able to do thing dot other thing,
Oh, interesting.
and using static, you no longer have the thing dot, so you have to account for it might just flat out not be there.
Hmm.
You can still get it, you just can't get it this way. But for now, I don't care. So member access expression is identi.
Indent, not ident.
It's like you're trying to say that my spelling sucks.
Well, I was trying to be more diplomatic than that.
Fair. Let's see.
I mean, you were spelling something correctly. You just weren't spelling
I just wasn't spelling the word I wanted to.
spell.
Let's see. So that gets me into there, and I think once again I just go after the identifier. Parent type. Identifier. Value text. Command handler. Okay. So that gets me into there. Okay, so I think what we said before is this is good enough, at least for our current analyzer, to be close enough. We should check more than this, but this will get us there. So cheater mode F5 to next breakpoint. Booyah. All the expressions work.
Nice.
Turns out that if you just type exactly what you see. Intrepid Gamer. So we are working on building a analyzer for System Command Line. So in particular, this issue here from the library. Basically trying to build out an analyzer to alleviate people's confusion, because there's some magical string matching that happens, and it's not always, I should say not always, it's rarely intuitive unless you know it. And Jon just has them all memorized, so he just goes from memory and is amazing.
This one has bitten me once or twice as well. It's not super intuitive.
Yeah.
The matching isn't. We haven't figured out a better way to do it.
That I can agree with. Okay, so now the question is, how do we get inside and grab this thing, right? So now that we got this thing, inside of this we could look at the parent, but I don't know if that's quite where I want to go, because I think, yeah, this guy should have enough in him. So the question is, argument list is where we want to go, right?
Yep. Yeah, there's the argument right there. There's name 2.
Yeah, so inside of here, where do I come from? So I'm going to go off of the invocation argument list. Arguments, I think, probably.
Yep.
And I think
we kind of want to ultimately iterate over them, right? For each argument, we want to see if there's a matching option.
But no, so I don't think so, because these are the arguments to the create method. We haven't gotten to the lambda itself.
Oh, yeah.
So I think all of our create methods are only expected to have one, right?
I believe so.
So
yeah.
I'm just going to add one more condition, right? So, because I don't want to check it again. Invocation. Wow, this is not my night. Let's see. Argument list. How come I have something called list that doesn't have count?
Argument?
Because argument list contains a thing that contains something with a count.
That's curious, isn't it?
Okay. So that's fine. So now I'm just going to var argument, and I'm just going to yank that sucker out. Because, hey, go, gimme. Yeah, that is, so one of the comments is that the if statement is growing. Yeah. I would like to say this isn't how I write code normally, but there are times where you just see, I just start stacking them, and especially when I'm coding while edit and continue.
Yep.
It's really convenient.
It is. That's a good try.
Okay, so we're going to step. We get our argument. Actually, I'm going to do this. right? So just so that I can have the argument evaluated. So my little trick, double curly braces gives you a Fifi IL instruction so your debugger can stop.
That's great.
Okay.
Yeah, this edit and continue is a very nice workflow.
Okay, so now we have our argument, and now I think is where your comment about wanting to iterate over the arguments of the argument,
Yeah.
which is where we need to.
Well, we have to, if the argument is whatever type it is, right?
Yeah, so let's bury down into this. Actually, I suppose at this point I should have argument in my locals. So let's stop going through the nesting. What are you? Stop. Skype? Jerk. Every time I get near my window, it closes it. Okay, so from here, we need to figure out what are you. Kind, that is not helpful.
Simple lambda expression syntax.
So off the expression. So, sure, let's keep going. We'll start a new if statement. Argument dot expression is simple lambda expression syntax. Lambda. Keep going. So once we get inside of there.
I'm wondering if somewhere there's a hard limit on the number of expressions that you can have inside of an if expression.
That is a good question. I have to believe somebody's tried it and figured it out. I've seen weird things where people try to push the C# compiler to ridiculous limits like that just to see where it breaks. And usually the numbers are big enough that the Visual Studio dies on the file itself. Let's see. So from our expression, at this point, I would like to think this guy probably has something. Parameter. Simple lambda expression syntax. Why is parameter single?
That's really interesting.
Yeah, well, it's a parameter syntax, so maybe it can have multiple. So let's just look, right? So lambda parameter, I suspect. Attribute list. That's probably what it is. So the lambda itself, I'm wondering if in my C# brain, if the parens to the left of the lambda, if that is the parameter syntax, and
Yep.
attributes. That would be a weird way to use the word attribute, though.
Yep.
Okay.
And it has a type syntax.
Yeah, and more importantly, okay, so let's look at this parameter. What is in this? Okay, so parameter has an identifier, which gets me down to exactly what I want, right?
Yeah.
Because there's name 2. So parameter identifier gets me where I want to go. I'm wondering if maybe a lambda with multiple parameters isn't this simple lambda expression syntax. I wonder if this is a special case for single. Maybe 0 and 1 fall into the simple and everything else starts to build up more.
Oh, you know what it is? I'm looking at another code sample here off screen. There's also a parenthesized lambda expression.
Oh, so this is one without the... oh, my word. This is going to get ugly. Oh, my... Oh.
Time to copy-paste that if expression.
Hoy vey. Okay, well, one unit test at a time.
Yep.
So, let's see. So, this guy here, well, I like nesting my if statements. So, lambda dot parameter. We are trying to deobfuscate some of the magic that the lambda expression has in command line. So, close, Raymond. This is building up. When you get those squiggles inside a Visual Studio, a lot of times those come from analyzers or the compiler directly. This is us building our own analyzer. So basically in the library, we've got failure cases that we know about, and so we are trying to catch them and be helpful so that people using our library don't throw tomatoes at us.
Yeah. If you look at the linked GitHub issue, it shows an example of the kind of problem that this analyzer will try to flag.
Yeah. Yeah, that GitHub issue above, Raymond, shows kind of the problem that we're trying to solve. The code that we're trying to solve is very simple. The code to solve it is clearly not. So what are you squawking about? Oh, we are turning that on real quick. Sorry. One minor thing with the template. Lang version. New project, I reserve the right to turn it up to 8. I'm going to be shocked and amazed if, edit and continue doesn't tolerate you changing the Lang version out from under.
Oh, come on.
I'm not horribly surprised. Like that, there are times where I understand why, maybe you just can't handle it. Oh yeah, sure, Raymond, coming right up. One new link. Oh,
I got it.
or John can beat me to it. That works too. Okay, so here we are back in our old happy friend. Okay, so argument, expression, and back into where we were going. So we were going to check out the parameter. Dear heavens, Skype, you are getting really obnoxious. This guy. So from the parameter, if we get one, we want to just assert on the identifier, right? I think what we can do is we can actually just do this. So parameter identifier dot.
Do we actually think any of those things will be null?
So my rationale on the parameter being null would be the paren lambda, because there wouldn't be a parameter there, right? I don't know that for a fact. Maybe I should leave these off until I know for sure.
That's yet a different thing, but maybe it isn't.
So that was my thought there. Identifier being null would be the throwaway character case.
Does that produce a null identifier, a discard?
That's a good question. Discard, that's the magic. We'll do this for now and see where that leads us.
Sure.
So I guess if we're going to assume non-null all the way through, I guess I just pull it all the way out, right? So here's the next word, right? So string parameter name. Like we get, nope, not what we were going for. Parameter, identifier, value text, right? So we've gotten all the way down here. We got ourselves our value 2. Here's the hard part. How do we know what to compare it against?
This is going to be the hard part.
Because ultimately, the only way we know this is if something else has told us about it.
Well, so the handler attaches to a command. The command attaches to the options, but this is why I was saying if you can explore the system command line object model, it's very straightforward to go find those options. Mm-hmm. But we have to do all of this by alternative means.
Well, and more importantly, we don't know. So, and this is why part of me is thinking that this analyzer is only going to be good for constants. Right? Because if you were to pass in a variable, say, heaven forbid, you instantiate a command where you're pulling in the name of it from an environment variable or something that's only known at runtime, right?
Well,
the analyzer can't catch runtime stuff.
Sure, but I think for the most part that's not going to be a common case.
I agree, and I think that was kind of my thought of it really needs to be constants that we could likely do, right? I think the moment somebody starts, passing in a method that generates their command name, at that point it's like, yeah, all bets are off at this point. We can't.
Who would do such a thing?
I haven't,
Oh, come on.
but I probably should. So
There, there,
that
were actually, there were suggestions to try to solve this problem at runtime,
hmm
and the reason why we're kind of shying away from that is that it's a performance hit that is presumably, either the code has these things matched up correctly or it doesn't. And once you build it, it's never going to change.
right. Yeah, and I sort of agree that trying to catch this here is probably better.
This is
Um,
solvable.
side thought that I'll just throw out there. Structure map, the DI container. At one point in time, they had a method on their container that was just assert container is valid.
Yeah.
That typically, effectively you do that hit at runtime, but you wrap it in an if debug or whatever, right? So that
Yep.
you catch it,
Yeah.
but not always. Okay, so I think the only way this works then is we need to so I think we have to start making some assumptions. And if we can make the assumption that this guy is going to be attached to a command that is declared in the same method, I think we could do that because these things just are callbacks while the tree is being analyzed. So,
Well, the question is, can we use the semantic model to go and look up the thing if it's somewhere else, right? Say the options are over here in one file.
okay,
In a completely different file somewhere is the handler, right? Is there a way to look this up via the...
I see what you're saying. Okay. So the idea being we want to go backwards and find this, and the question is, can we? So we have, so I think we have to go back then to our node, right?
Yeah.
And start walking backwards. And from our node, we do have this assignment expression syntax. So let's walk up that, because that one ultimately shows that it's command.handler. So from the assignment, I'm looking for whatever is going to be on the left. Oh, look. It's called left. How convenient. Let's start there. Let's see. It's got an identifier syntax, or identifier name syntax. And the question being is, can I go from this identifier to finding something else about it? Right? Because that would be the kicker, is if I could go from here and then use something to walk.
I think what you might be able to do, can we pop over to the immediate window for a second?
Sure.
If you do context.semantic model, MANTI SEN.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Context. Let's try that again.
Yep.
There we go. Okay.
Get symbol info.
Symbol info.
And pass in that argument, maybe the argument expression.
So you want the thing on the, so we want the thing on the left, right?
The thing on the left.
So
yes, we do. Yeah.
We want to pass in this.
Command handler. Yep.
Well, not command handler, command, right?
Ultimately, we want command so that we can then go and look at
its information.
Yeah.
So that is a great question. Let's see. Where do we get that from? So I had that in my...
You got that, where did the syntax tree tool go?
Well, I sort of have it here, right? In that all we can go straight to the node, go up to his parent, and then down.
Node parent left?
Yeah, node parent left. The problem is, I think these are all going to need to be cast, because this is syntax node, which is going to be needed to cast to a simple assignment. I think. I mean, we can make this work, right? So
the immediate window had a cast everything to dynamic mode.
That would be nice. So let's see. So context.node.parent, and we're just going to cast because why not, right? Parent, we know this is going to be an assignment expression syntax. Right, and I ultimately want to just grab the left guy, right? And left gets me to command.handler. So let's just keep going. Remember access expression. There's no way this is gonna bite me. Var ID. Right, and this will do dot expression, which will get me the identifier expression. Yay, edit and continue. And then we step. Okay, so I should have it. So now we go to your immediate window and we pass in ID. So symbol local command. So var s gets this whole thing, right? I want something in the immediate window that's take my last result assigned a variable.
Yeah.
Like I want to do the piping model. Okay, so s. Okay, I don't know what a symbol info has. But I am tempted to do it like this. Right? And then just here, you. Back up. Try again. So what is now on this guy? So you give me a symbol, and so now the question is, what can I get from you? Right? Because if I can now walk back and get it, what is on this symbol? Okay, so we know he's contained within main. We know what type he's in. Declaring syntax references. I don't know if that's overly helpful. That's mostly just spans in a full syntax tree. That looks like a miserable way of processing it. What else we got?
Yeah, I think
we know its name locally.
Yep.
I am wondering if we could. Well,
this gets tricky because we understand the semantics of the thing, but I don't know how much of that is really expressed in the syntax tree. Oh, this is going to be crazy. We're going to have to go, because there's multiple ways to add the option to the command, and we probably need to go hunting down all of them here with knowledge of that object model. Like add option, and collection initializers are all going to be different syntax models.
Value. No dot parent. The reason for that, Raymond, is because initially what we did is we locked into this portion of the syntax tree for the C# compiler. So when you go to the parent, you end up grabbing that. So you get the whole line, which is why the assignment is the parent level. So I'm wondering, John, if, I think we could make this work on a simple case, but I don't know if we're going to be able to do this. I think one of the assumptions you almost have to make right out the gate is that we can only check it if these are declared in the same method. If we made that assumption, that drastically simplifies the problem, right?
I'm not sure that's... Well, can we now explore from... Yeah, maybe.
Because if I can make the assumption that they're in the same method, right, I can wire up the enter and exits on this method, right? Because I know when I enter and when I encounter a symbol or an option, and basically keep track of what I see.
Yeah. I feel like there's a way to do this, though. But maybe not. Maybe not.
Because what you pointed out, right? Like, we can get ourselves to this guy here, but ultimately that's not quite good enough.
Um, so, hang on.
Writing code about code to reason about code is really hard to code.
It's true. It is true.
Oh, I just realized I missed an opportunity. Tonight's my first night streaming with my green screen, and I did not grab one of the classic green Mountain Dews. There is a missed opportunity. That will be a joke for next week.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, because I think the other thing that's making this really hard is the disjoint between the command and the option, right? Because to know whether we're correct or not requires looking at the option.
I'm wondering whether this is a... No, it does, but I think the semantic model lets you analyze the flow of symbols through different methods. But I have no idea how to do this. I've heard people talk about it, and I think it's something that can be done. I can certainly ask somebody who knows a lot about this stuff.
Excellent. Well, I'm going to put you on the hook for that because, if it's possible, I would love to know that. I am sort of curious because the one thing that this locals window is really bad at showing is what the... is it's really bad at showing methods that are on here. And I'm wondering if maybe that would be revealing to know, right? So I kind of want to look at info, symbol, get type, local with initializer. Okay. So if I do that, gets I might not be able to get at that directly. How about info symbol? So I'm curious what might be down on to display parts. No, to display string. It seems like the symbol should have more information. I definitely need to cast this guy down to something. What are you? Come here. Let's see. Symbol source local symbol. Let's see. Info. Nope. Turns out still suck at typing. Local symbol. So I assume I can get away with that. Back up. Try again. Now, what do you give me? What do you give me that might be helpful? So, you don't give me any new methods that weren't already on iSymbol. That's disappointing. So what do you add? You just add information about the local. That's not that helpful. This function value is ref, is ref, is where's your type then? Error type command. constructed from. I wonder if this is... Ah. So I wonder if perhaps our contrived example is possibly biting us, right? Because it knows that the type of this thing syntactically is command, but it has no idea what command is. Because in our unit test, it's not like we've got a using system command line anywhere, nor a reference to it.
Yeah, that's why I'm wondering if we need a compilation to be able to do some of the analysis that we need here.
Yeah, I mean, we can bring in system command line into this guy.
How does that work? How do you reference system command line and then have it be stable across multiple versions?
Oh, I know the answer to this question. Yay, finally. So on these guys here, so when you're building these up,
Yep.
because we end up doing this when we're running our analyzers sort of freehand, right? So this guy, verify C# diagnostic, verify C# diagnostic, leave this guy.
Ship the analyzer with a specific version of system command line, right?
Correct. So what you can do is, so they, under the hood, and part of one of the big benefits of all of this boilerplate that they generate is they build a project for you on the fly, and then compile it.
Yep.
So ultimately it comes down to this magical bit of with analyzers. So if you want to do your own compilation with analyzers, this is all it takes.
Yeah.
So my tool just loads up analyzers with reflection and away you go. But if we want to go through and reference system command line, we could pull it in here, right? So it's all in the building up of this project.
That's what we're
how
going
we
to
add stuff into it. And so that's all it should take to do. I am curious because I expected to see down into here those metadata references that we did before.
Right.
I'm wondering if this is like an extension method or nope, that is definitely not.
I think I'm coming up on the witching hour here.
Yeah. No, and that's fine. So I'm going to commit what we've got and put it at least on my branch, and we can revisit this. I would be very curious if you find out more information about it, though.
Yeah, I'll put this problem, but yeah, once you push it up and have a branch and I can show someone a sample of what we're trying to do, I can get someone to answer that question of what's the general approach we can take there that'll work.
Here, I will save you the trouble. Stage all changes. Simple sample with guessing. Boom. Push. So it is out on my fork underneath the branch analyzer.
Nice. We'll take a look.
Cool. Yeah. Sweet, John. Well, thank you. I apologize for keeping you up so late.
No, it's fun. Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah, always fun to get on in pair. So I like these interesting problems, and I will be very curious to see what information you come up with. So sweet.
Yeah, dude. This is my first foray into analyzers. So.
Yeah, and the stuff we were doing was fairly benign, right? Like a lot of it was just we needed something basically fancier than FX cop type rules that we just wanted to make sure were very strictly enforced.
Yep.
So, see you, Jared. Well, cool. Thank you, John. I may be close to my witching hour too, so I will probably take a stab. I do want to go through those comments on that nullable reference type PR and see. I know you and why am I blanking on his name? The other wonderful Roslyn guy, Julian, went through and did all of that. I know there was some question about the assertions versus the null forgiveness operator. Do you have a preference of which one you want to see?
My question, I didn't catch up on the comments on this because I had a very, very busy week. But the debug assert, I've seen that hang in CI enough times to be wary of it.
Okay.
If it's debug assert hits in CI and it's headless, right? You don't have any way to know what happened. I believe it'll just kill the process. It used to be that it would pop up a message, and .NET Frame will pop up a message. In .NET Core, I think it just kills the process. So you don't see any test output. You don't really know what happened or where it happened.
Got it. Okay.
I don't know if there's a trick for that, for avoiding that.
Yeah, and I don't recall his exact response, but I think the point that he had made was that that behavior surprised him. Um, and maybe I need to just go through and check it, um, and see exactly because most of the comments seemed fairly simple and straightforward, right?
Yep.
Um, of being able to do that. Um, this was so. If I can steal you for just a moment longer, this
Mm.
provider value source, this comment here. So I agree with him that logic changes should come with a corresponding test, but I am actually so I went to write this test and I
Mm.
can't. There's no way to hit this null case from outside because this is an internal class. So
Oh,
part of me is like, I don't know what to do, right? Technically, it could be null. There is cases where binding context can be null, but
yep.
none that I can trigger to get into this code path.
I see.
So, like, so I agree that yes, it should come with a corresponding test, but I can't get there from here, and I don't know. I don't know how we want to handle it. And maybe the answer is we don't need to handle it for this PR. Maybe we should. That's sort of my question. Is I've got some of those outstanding ones, and I can leave comments on the PR and tag you on them, where I run into questions. But I don't know quite how to handle some of these cases where it's not currently possible with the public API.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things of, do you want 100% code coverage, and do you believe that covering like a null check is interesting enough to be worth a test?
Yeah.
And sometimes I say it's not, right? I'll have null guards in places that I'm like, I know the null guard works. I'm not that worried about it. So then this sort of takes it one step farther, which is if the compiler won't let me write that test as a unit test, so it's now, I'm testing a null check via an integration test, that seems a bit, like, I understand why the Roslyn compiler is tested with that degree of rigor.
Right. Because the rest of us depend on it being bulletproof.
Yeah, yeah. But I'm skeptical that that's needed everywhere.
Yeah. Because this was from his initial review, and I meant to post a reply back to him, and it was late when I realized that I couldn't do it, and I was like, ah, dang it. So, and that was just really just looking to get your feedback on what to do, and I think the answer here is going to be not currently possible, but in general, yes, if behavioral changes should come with tests, because he is correct that this is a behavioral change putting this in. Of before it used to blow up, now it doesn't blow up.
Mm-hmm.
Though my thought is if it blew up before, I would have a failing test somewhere, right? Likely. We don't suppress exceptions anywhere. So, and then there was a bunch of stylistic changes about is null versus equals null, and I don't know if you care about those.
No, that is generally a good change.
Okay, I realized it was somewhat beyond what my pull request was initially meant to do, but I have been very much pushing this in my other repos. For those people who are unaware, is null is roughly the equivalent of a reference equals null, whereas equals operator can be overridden. So in the vast majority of cases, they're going to compile to the same thing, except where somebody gets crazy and starts to override equals, and then you get bit in all kinds of fun and exciting ways.
Yeah, I've been kind of the opinion for years that operator overloading and the existence of the equals method on the object class definition are both mistakes.
Yeah,
This corrects that.
yeah, I can understand that. Yeah. So, okay, I think most of the other comments were fairly benign and straightforward as far as what needs to go where. Um, so I think most of this should be fairly straightforward. There was only a couple weird things that I ended up doing, like redeclaring this variable here, because there was no nice before we were reusing the same local variable. The problem is now I effectively need two different variables, one that's nullable and one that's not, to make the compiler happy.
Can you do something like if not parent root command is blah other name, invert the if, and then it leaves the variable in scope.
If
I don't know if I can put it better.
well, so the problem is this guy here
Yeah.
wants to be nullable because of the first or default, which was clearly possible because we were checking for null, right?
Yep.
And so I needed something nullable, but root command above here is declared as a pattern match output.
Yep.
Where is this guy? And so you can't do a nullable on the pattern match output. Command ? Isn't valid here because the whole point of the pattern match is to verify non-null. So I would have to, so I could pull this out, declare non-nullable. This becomes a different one, and I couldn't come up with a clean way. I was like, you know what? I'm fighting around this just to reuse a variable. Darn it, I'll declare a new variable and be done with the problem. So it only got weird because this local gets used one more time below this, and so it was like, so I separated it.
That double assignment there is, what's the name for that particular?
What? Kevin working around a problem. So there are a couple weird oddity things that I did in here. So I would say definitely give it one more look over. I like I said, I'll go through and address the rest of Julian's comments because again, most of them looked fairly simple and straightforward and benign. But just wanting to get that feedback from you of what's the expectation. Because it would be nice to get this merged because my next pull request will then be nullable reference types on the other projects. Because this is just the core one. It doesn't expand it out beyond that.
I haven't spent enough time with this particular feature yet to know some of these details as well. If you were to do parent root command, what is it called? The and equals, or question mark equals rather.
Oh, right.
New root command, does that change the nullability from that point onward, or can the nullability of the symbol not be effectively redeclared? I'm guessing it's the latter, but
so I think it's the latter, but I honestly don't know for sure. I haven't combined those two things together yet.
That would clean that up a little bit, right? Because then you wouldn't need the if. Oh no, you do need the if.
I do need the if because of the first or default.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, that was kind of the whole. It was like I'm trying to avoid changing the logic in here as much as possible because I trust all of the unit tests. I just don't trust me not to botch something. So, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it does get interesting. I do like the nullable reference types. They feel very prescriptive in that they force you to write code one particular way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Which is both, it feels good, and I understand why it's an optional feature to turn off, because I can see it being really obnoxious. I think it is great for production level code, and I would probably leave it off every time when I'm prototyping because it really gets in the way.
Yeah. Yep.
So. Cool. Well, sweet, John. Hopefully by next week I get this cleaned up. For those people watching the stream, my intent is to go back to Thursday night streaming. I think I have gotten my schedule figured out after the quarantine stuff, so that should happen. There may be some ad hoc streams because now that I've got my home stuff figured out, it's a little bit easier for me to just pop out and stream for a little bit and pop back in. So I may do another stream later this weekend getting some of this done, but I've also got some video blogging type stuff to put together. So you'll be happy, John. I do have an outline for that unit testing stuff. So at some point I may ask for feedback from you on that as well.
Sure, that'll be fun.
So awesome. Well, cool. I think from there, since it's already 10 after 11 and you're tired and I probably should stop coding since I can't spell tonight. I think we'll probably sign it off there. Once again, thank you, John. I appreciate it.
Oh yeah, thanks.
For everyone else, happy coding. We'll do it again later.
Good night.